Welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on how to configure DWP catalog approval. Joining me today is Khaled. He'll do his formal introduction and talk through his agenda shortly. Couple of reminders. There is the Q&A section of Zoom, which you'll find at the bottom. You have got the option to ask the questions as we go through the demo. Just to let you know, the slides will be presented live, but we also have a simulated live demo. It is quite long, it's just over 40 minutes, but it gives the opportunity for Khaled to then answer your questions. And the reason we're presenting this also live, just because it's very long and you can have a look at this at another point. So I'm now going to hand over to Khaled that's going to get started with the slides. So Khaled, if you want to go and get started,
Yeah.
and everyone will remain muted. So over to you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Khaled. I'm working with BMC as a lead premier architect since almost 6 years. I have total 13 year experience in BMC product. Today webinar will go through how to configure DWP catalog approval. Just I will turn off the camera just for audio quality. Then we'll go to the agenda. Today agenda will go through certain points, certain use case. The process here of how to configure DWP catalog, there's certain step you need to follow. The first one, to go through approval server, approval engine flow. We need to explain how things is to be done in approval engine flow. The second part of this agenda is how to see the flow of DWP catalog approval and how to trigger approval from DWPC through the workflow. Then we'll go to the demo. Now, how to define the approval engine. So we have a flow of the approval server. In order to create the approval, you have to define two things. The first thing is to define approval process. The approval process is a series of steps until the process is done, which is we call it rule. And this is the second part of configure the approval, which is you have to define the rule, either to use get next approval to set the approval name and to sync the approval status through approval process done or completion. Okay. So in order to create approval, you have to define two things. First one is a process and select the form and the type of the approval. And you have to define the rule inside the process itself. Next slide, how to create process and rule. In this example, I'm defining only one use case. And in the demo, we'll go through 5 use cases. The first one, which is the out of the box coming with DWP catalog, which is the SP request manager approval, which is a direct manager. The second one, which is the ad hoc. Third one will go through how to create a custom level approval based on the customer response and the question, and how to create also approval chain approval process and the group approval process. In this slide, I'm showing only how to create ad hoc as a process. Okay, as you can see, you need to go to the approval server through approval admin console and to create a new process. And you have to define the form and type and which flex character field you need to map the approval name with. Okay, so this is the first part. You have to create a process and define the type and the form related to relate to the DWP catalog. Second part, which is the most important thing, also a rule. Usually the ad hoc, there's no get next approval, as you can see. It's only about syncing the approval status, either by approval process done or on completion. So each status should be mapped in the rule for ad hoc. For the get next approval, in the demo will show you how to use that in the level and chain and in the group, okay, in details. Now, the DWPC approval flow overview, usually, in order to trigger the approval from DWPC, you have to call something called call activity from the workflow. Once you call that activity, you need to define the process name, either keep it empty for out of the box, or you need to define the process name for the custom one, which is you create. Once you call that activity, it will create an entry in the SP service request form, and that entry will trigger the approval and create a new signature in the signature form. And the approver, once he approve it or reject it, it will update the service request form, and it will update the DWP catalog either for complete or reject. So the flow, this is the flow triggering the call activity, update the service SP service request, will create an entry for waiting for approval, and in parallel, approval server will generate a signature for the user. And the user will approve it or reject it, then the service request will be updated, and the service itself in DWP will be updated either to reject or approve. Okay. Now, how to call this activity from the workflow? We have something called call activity again with a process name request approver. And you need to map all the required field in the call activity, like requesting user ID, service name, service ID, and approval process name. Again, this approval process name, if you use the out-of-the-box one, which is SP request manager, no need to map anything here. You can make it empty, and it will map the out-of-the-box one. And for sure, if you use the custom one, depending on the process you create, you can map the flex characters you want, because the flex character is meant to be used for the mapping of the call activity. Okay. So this is all an overview how to define a process, how to define a rule, and how to call that process in your workflow in DWP catalog. I think back to you, Sam, for the demo.
Thank you. And just while I'm about to share my screen, just a reminder, if you do have any questions, and the reason for me doing the share is so Khaled can answer your questions, do put them into the Q&A section of Zoom. I just want to check you can see the screen okay, yeah? Hopefully, is it sharing correctly? Try again, hang on. I wasn't doing the sound, bear with me.
Hello everyone. Today we'll go through, in today's session, we'll go through how to configure approval in DWP catalog. We'll cover 5 use cases. The first use case will go through the manager approval, which is the default one coming out of the box, and how to go through the process and rule defined there, and to review the process and rule in the approval engine. And second use case, configure ad hoc approval, which is not available out of the box, in 3 different ways. We'll show that in the demo. Also, we'll go through how to configure a level approval and call it from DWP catalog, and also configure a chain and a group and how to call them from a DWP catalog. First thing, we'll go through the default one, the manager, which is available out of the box. Let's go and review the process and rule. We'll go to the mid-tier and we'll open the approval engine. So we have here by default, there's a process called manager approval for SP request. Okay, this is the process which is defined out of the box. So here's the process name, and here's the form, which is parent and child, and the rule associated with it. It will be, we have a process done for approve, reject, cancel, error, and for sure completion rule. The most important thing is get next approval. The get next approval, you will see the qualification related. So it will go to the CTM people, and based on the remedy login ID and the request for user ID, it will bring the manager login ID from the people form. So this is the out of the box, simple. It just take the manager login ID from the requester user ID. Okay. Now how to call this from DWP catalog? We'll go to the DWP catalog now. I already have a manager approval, which is simple. I create simple service with the simple questions. We'll go to the workflow. So I have call activity. first thing, I create variable, the question type and context for the service broker. Okay. In the call activity, you need to map the information, which is requesting for user ID, approval summary. You can add whatever you need from here, and map the service name and the service request ID. Usually, if you keep this approval process name empty, it will take the default one, which is the manager. Either you can keep it empty or you can map it. You need to map the name which is available here. Request SP request manager approval. So either to keep it empty or you can map the approval process name. And for sure you need to pass the process correlation ID. So my workflow here will call the activity for approval, which is here, request approval. You can choose from here, request approval, and it will go and call the default one. If it's approved, okay, it will go and create work order. Okay, let's go to the questions. So I have simple service, which is with one question, drop down desktop and laptop, and that's it. In the digital workplace, I can go to the request manager approval and request now, and select any and click submit. Once you submit, immediately it will take the manager approval for the requester ID, okay, which is here the end user app admin. If we go to the people form, you will see the direct manager for the app admin as well. So that it could the approval get attached to the service, and to see more details, you can go to the service request, SP service request form. You can take the ID of the request and search for it. So you will have it. It's waiting to be sent, and the process name is approval from manager. Okay. So the approval is get attached to the request, and the approval status is waiting for approval. This is the first use case, how to call DWP approval manager from DWP catalog. Just again, you have a workflow. You'll use call activity with either with the process name or without. It will call the approval default approval manager. Okay. This is the first use case. The second use case will go with ad hoc approval. How to configure ad hoc. Ad hoc is not available out of the box in the approval engine, so you need to configure it. Now, how to configure that? First, you need to create the process as per the approval engine workflow and the flow. You need to create a process first, which is it's already created. So this is the process itself. It's similar to the out-of-the-box default manager, but here you need to use different process name, and the type will be ad hoc. And the most important thing, you need to map to which flex character. Okay. We have in the SP form, there's many flex character. You can map it to any one of them. Okay. Once you map it, based on the mapping here and the field which is available here, once you map the approval name, it will attach immediately the approval. Okay. Once you create the process, you have to create the rules. In the ad hoc, there is no get next, just approval process done and the completion. Okay. So we have approval process done for each status to map the status once it's get approved or rejected, to update the approval status for the DWP service itself. So we have first one is approved, second one is cancelled, and you have to map for sure the approval status based on the approval process done. Also for error, same thing, and for reject. Okay, and we have also completion. Now here, this is the already created the ad hoc process. You have to take a note of the process name, and we'll go to the DWP catalog. Now, in this scenario, we need to create a service to call this process and attach it to the service to attach the approval. Okay, now we'll go to the ad hoc one. So I have created the same thing, simple workflow with a simple service. Okay, we have a call activity. It's a request approval. Okay, and you need to pass the login name of the user ID. Usually it will come under requested for user, and you can map anything in the summary. Service name also, you need to select the service name, so it will be mapped to a SP request form. Okay, we have service name, and you need to map the service request ID. In this scenario, you have to map the approval process name. Okay, so the approval process name, which is created in the approval engine, it should match, and you need to copy the name here. And for sure, we need to pass the process correlation ID. Okay. Now, once it's get approved, it will go and status will be approved. One more thing here, you have to map the flex character, the approval, that the parameter which is we create, the variable we create. We have created the variable here, the first question type, the context of service broker, and the field called approval. This approval will be in the question. We can map the default value, or based on the customer answer, the approval will be populated. Okay, so most important thing, you have to map this information, and for sure the flex character, which is configured in the ad hoc in the process. So we have here ad hoc. We already mapped this field, so you need to make sure to map this value to this field only. So once it's approved, it will create a work order. Let's go to the question. Now we have the question here, which is desktop laptop. This is the first way, the first option in three different options. Based on the customer answer, we'll map the approval. Here it's hard coded in the field. If the customer select desktop, it will go to the user approval form. If it's laptop, it will go to Khaled. This is hard coded. You can make it easy, simple. If there is no, if you need it straightforward and easy way, you can use this way. Okay, but by using this option, later if the approval name get changed, it's hard to change if you have many services. So this is the first option. Okay, now we have created and publish it. If we go to DWP catalog, DWP, we'll go to catalog, ad hoc, request now. If I select desktop, it will go to Bob. For sure, we can make it read only, but this is for demo only. If I click submit, it will go to Bob. And it get attached because approval field, it's already mapped to the flex character one, which is configured in the process. Okay, if we select laptop, it will go to Khaled once we click submit. You can see it's now go to Khaled. If you search in SP service request form for the request ID, you will find it available here. So this is the approval process name. It's waiting for approval, and approval already attached. This is the first option of Ad-Hoc. Now, the second option, which is I prefer, because it's easy to maintain later in case of the approval get changed. You need to create a custom mapping form. I already create one called SP approval mapping, similar to SRM, but this is a simple. You can add more field, more columns, and more option to be controlled. So simply, I have created this form, which is with 2 records: desktop, it will go to Michelle, and laptop, it will go to mail. Okay, so by using this way, the second option, you will have one centralized form, which is you can update smoothly for many services. Okay, so how to call this in from DWP catalog by using Ad-Hoc approval, the same process. We'll go to the DWP catalog. We have here a service called hardware request action mapping. We'll go to workflow, same workflow, again, call activity, approval, and here I map to the flex character one, approval based on the, again, the ad hoc process, which is flex character one. Okay, and the information related here. Okay, and we need to map also process correlation ID. Now the trick is here in the question. Now we have a type, okay, with condition. If it's desktop, you will go and pass the approval, and if it's laptop, you will go and pass the approval. Here you can see the field is empty. We have create an action. That action will be reading the login ID from the custom form, which is I create SP approval mapping. So the type, either it's desktop or laptop, the condition is met, it will go and compare type is equal type, and it will map the login ID, which is available in the custom form I create, login ID. Based on the type, it will map the information to the field called approval. Okay. If we go to DWP and open the action mapping, you can see request now. If I select desktop, it will immediately take the approval from the custom form, which is I create, and it will fetch the login ID. Okay. If I click submit, it will pass the login ID of the approval to the flex character 01, and it will attach the approval based on the process created in the approval engine. Similar thing for the other type, which is laptop. You can see here it's already attached. Here also you can verify. From the request, it's already attached with the correct process name and process correlation ID. Okay. Also, you can track the service from the report, service request. We have this one. It's already pending. You can view the process I can see it here. Okay. So this is the second option of using ad hoc. By using custom mapping form, you can create that form and add whatever the field you need, and based on the action, the field, the value of the field of approval will be populated. Now this is the ad hoc. The first one, you can hard code the value of the approval in the question. The second way is creating a mapping form and use that mapping form in the action. Now the third option, which is we have using a level. Okay. Now we'll go to the approval engine. So we cover two. The first one is the manager ad hoc. I create a level approval. Okay. It's again, you can use the out of the box, whatever the information here. You need to take a note of the process. The form name is SP service request. You can use level, and you need to map the request for user ID. Is the option similar to the default one that I mentioned. Okay. Now the different here, you will go and create the process approval process done, approved, cancel, error, completion, and reject. And here we have create a rule called get next approval. Get next approval, it will go and fetch the approval based on the query from the form which is I create, which is the custom form. Okay. Now, if the type equal flex character 04, go and take the next approval from the form, custom mapping form, and take the login ID. Now, in the workflow, we have to map the type field to the flex character 04. So you need to take note of this. Okay. Now, if we go to the workflow, which is created for level, you can see. So I have call activity, which is again, you need to select request approval. You have to map the mandatory field here. Okay, and you have to map the approval process name, which is created. This one. And here I will map the type of the question type to the flex character 04, because I already defined it in the rule get next approval for the level. So if it's match, it will go and bring the login ID from that custom mapping form. Okay. And once it's approved, it will go and create work order. Okay. So this is the third way. You can use the level. Also, I prefer to use this option because it's easy to maintain later. So you have one centralized form with all the approval information, similar to SRM approval mapping. Again, you can have many options here. It just I create this form to make it simple. You can have like service name and group with type like individual or group, and you can add multiple field with the data here. So we have mapped the type with the flex character 04. Now, if we go to the question, we have only one field called type, desktop, laptop. It's just simple service. If we go to digital workplace catalog, if I go to the level, request now. If I select desktop, now based on the type, I select desktop. If I go to the mapping form, desktop it should go to machine. Now if I click submit, now it's waiting for approval, it's machine. Machine get attached because here it's we create a process with rule, and the rule it will go from the custom mapping form and bring the login ID based on the flex character 04. If I go to SP service request form here, you will see it's waiting for approval. If I go flex field, it's already mapped to the flex character 04 field. Okay. Similar thing for laptop, you can raise. It will attach different approval based on the customer answer. Okay. So we have now covered the approval manager, which is the default. It's coming from, it will bring the manager information from the people form. Ad hoc, we have two ways, either to hard code the approver name in the text field, or you can use action to bring the value from a custom form or even from out of the box form, depend on the approval information from where you need to get. And the third way is level. Okay, you can create a custom form with the information you need. It depends on your use cases. You can add many fields here, and you can control them by using a rule. So this is the level approval. Now let's go and use the fourth one, which is in our webinar today, is how to configure chain. To configure the chain, we have two ways to configure the chain. The first one by using call activity to level approval and above by using call activity. Let's go to the workflow. As you can see, we have the first one, the manager, the default one, the out of the box, and if the status approved, it will go to the level, the custom one, which is we create before. The mapping here, again, we map the required field, and the process name is empty because if you use the direct manager, the out of the box, no need to map the process name and process correlation ID. And the level, we map the required field, and we have to map the process name as per the rule which is we create for the process level. It should be, we should map the type, the field type, the flex character 04. And as per the workflow here, the flex character already 04 already mapped with the type. Let's go and test. This is the call activity one. Again, we have one question, simple service with one question, and we raise it. So the first level will go to user direct manager, which is in this case Bob. It's approved on behalf of Bob by using approval central. Now, once we approve it, it should go to the level which is we create. In this case, it will go to Mary, because Mary assigned to the laptop. And once Mary approves it, it will open the work order. So this is the first option of calling a chain. The second option, which is usually I prefer if I have multiple service, to create multiple service attached to one approval process. In this case, I prefer the second way. The second way simply will go to approval chain, the normal one which is we use usually in SRM. Go to administration console, application admin console. Custom configuration, and we'll go service request approval and approval chain. Usually we use this before in SRM to configure a custom combined between chain between a manager and level and manager and ad hoc. In this scenario, we'll use the same process to create a chain for services related to DWP catalog. As you can see here, the form name is SP service request, and we specify the name. We need to take a note of this name, and we specify the service name as a hardware request chain, the one which is we will create in DWP catalog. Also, you can map to any field in SP service request. So you have all the field here. If you have flex character, all the field which is available in the SP service request. Okay, in my scenario, it will go to the manager. Once the manager approve it, it will go next process to the level, which is the custom one. So again, you have to take a note of the chain name. We'll go to the DWP catalog, close this, and go to the chain. It will be again the same service with a simple question, but rather than using two call activity, I'm using one call activity. And that one call activity will have again the required field, and I map the process name, which is the chain name I create. Okay, and for sure I have to map the type field in the flex character 04 in order to attach the level to avoid any error. And simply once it's approved, it will create a work order. Let's go and test that scenario. We have this chain. Let's request now. Let's use a desktop some let's approve it in the approvals and try. The first one, which you can see, it's attached pop to the direct manager. Let's approve it. Go back. Now it's Michelle, and as you can see, it's failed. Why it's failed? Let's see. Let's take 28. Service request. As you can see, it's in failed state. And here it say work order summary is not mapped, but still not all the approver approved the service. So in this case, the status already approved, and the approval status already mapped as approved, which is in this case is wrong, because we have only one approver approved the service. So we have a mistake here. I already done this in purpose, just to show you the approval status will be mapped either from approval process done or from the approval chain. Okay, now if you we go back to the approval admin, we have the first one, which is the manager. You can see approval process done was already active. If you need to use the chain, you have to map the approval status from the chain, not from the process itself. by using a rule, a rule for a process approval done. Okay, you can see here in the chain itself, you can map the status. Once it's get finally approved, you can use the set field with the status. Approval status, approved. Okay, so that's approval status will be mapped from the chain itself, not from the rule. Okay, so if we need to use the chain again, we have to go to the approval central, approval administration console, and disable all the approval process done. So the approval status will be mapped from the chain, not from the rule itself. So this one should be inactive. This should be inactive. This is inactive. So now we map the approval status from the chain, from this chain, not from the rule. Okay, let's try go back and raise it again. So the first approval will go to manager, which is in this case Bob. ID. It's already approved. So the next one, it will go to machine, and you can see that it's not moved to the failed status because the approval status is still not set, because we disabled the approval process done for the default one, for the first level in the chain. So the approval status will be moved again, will be set from the chain, not from the rule itself. I hope this is clear. So we cover the approval chain. We use two options, either to use call activity, and you can also, the second way is to use the chain. Again, I prefer the chain if you have multi services will use the same flow, same approval. So you have only one way to change, and just one place to change the process in case the approval need to be changed. If you use call activity, you have to go service by service. If you use a chain, you'll only go to chain and update it, and to be applied for all the services attached to that chain. And you can use also the qualification, any qualification in the chain itself. I'm using here the service name. So this is the chain. The last one will be a group. how to map a group. In my example here, just to make it simple, I create approval process called group. Again, the process will be same as out of the box. Say form name, requester, request owner, and all the attribute here already set as per the out of the box, which is available, the manager one. In this one, all process done already activated with the completion, and the get next approval already created. In my example, I use hard code value, static value. I map this group, and anyone and member under this group with this rule will be attached to this approval. In this example, I'm using a value, static value. You can use a mapping form similar to the one which is we create for individual, and even you can use also action from service catalog itself to fetch the group ID and map it to specific field in the SP service request form, and you can build your rule based on that. In this example, I just make it simple. I'm using a value and map it to specific field, specific group with a specific rule. If we go to service catalog, to the group one, it's just same service with the same question, just simple service, just one call activity. Same thing, we map the required field, and we map the process name, which is we create in the approval admin console. Okay, so this is the process name. Either you will use to map a static value, or you can use custom mapping form similar to SRM approval mapping. You have here, you can see we can also use the save as the form from the developer studio, and you can use the same process, same field, like individual, approval for, group, and you can specify the group, specify the services and department, categorization, anything. And you can fetch the value from here, set it in the approval rule, and then the approval will be attached. Okay, so here we map the approval process name, and simply also create a work order in case it get approved. Same thing, it's just in the question, just one simple question. And let's go and raise the request for the group. Just raise that request. Once it's raised, the approval rule will work and will attach it to the member, one member who have the rule request approval under that group. So in this case, this is our guy who will need to approve this request. So now we cover all, I hope we cover all the use cases the customer is looking for. So we cover the first one, the default, the manager one. We cover the ad hoc in two ways, either to use call activity or the mapping form, custom mapping form. Third way is to use a level with qualification and map to flex character field. Fourth way to use a chain, either to use by using a call activity or creating a normal chain approval and attach whatever the level you need. And the fifth way is to use the group. Thank you, everyone. I hope it's clear. And
So Khaled, I'm just going to hand back over to you if you want to share the final slides, and I'll also start unmuting everyone so they can talk to us live. But if you could just let Khaled do the last few slides. Khaled, back over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. So you can hear me, guys? You can hear me, Sam?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So just a summary out of the webinar today. Just we go through approval flow overview, how to define the process and how to define the rule from AR side, from ITSM side, and how to create approval process based on certain use cases. We cover today use cases, the out of the box, which is SP request manager, how to call it from DWP catalog. It's available out of the box, and it only have one level manager. There's no multi-level manager there. I mean, the manager of manager. How to configure, we cover how to configure ad hoc approval, either to map a static value in the question or to use a custom mapping form. Also, how to use the level approval. It just in the webinar, in the demo, I just cover a simple, I create simple service with a simple mapping form. But again, you can create your custom mapping form and similar to SRM approval level, and you can upload the data you want in order to call the or fetch the approval name. Also, we in the demo we show also how to configure chain and a group and how to call them. Also, we go through approval flow overview from DWPC from A to Z, how from call activity to approve or reject, and how to trigger it from DWP catalog itself. Okay. So last one, which is the reference we have here, multiple article. You can go through how to set the approval process, how to call custom approval process, how to configure process in the DWP catalog, either from level or from ad hoc or from group, and so on.